Pardon? Do I need a step? Oh my gosh, this will be the first time I need a step? No, I don't need a step, do I? Yes? Okay. Oh my gosh, I'm 5'5". I didn't think I was that. Is there a step? Okay, there you go.
It should be in here. Let me see if I can get it backstage.
Okay. Oh my gosh. That is totally a first. Wow. And I'm actually the tallest female on my entire Filipino and Indian side by a long shot. So I can't even imagine what my 4'8" grandmother would be doing up here. She would be doing this. Gosh. Every time I go to the Philippines, my aunts, I would say giant, too giant, you're drinking too much milk and some stuff like that. So apparently not enough here. I'll just wait. All right. I know. So embarrassing. Thank you so much. Oh my gosh, that's so big. Thank you. This is so big. This is gonna be way ridiculous. This is crazy. Oh my gosh. No, this is obnoxious, isn't it? This is ridiculous. Oh my gosh. Are you sure? Wait, are you guys sure this doesn't work? Yeah, I'm gonna. What? All right, forgive the whole, I don't mean to be lecturing or talking down from the pulpit. This is amazing. So, all right. Okay. Well, thank you all so much for having me here. I'm so grateful to be escaping the polar vortex of Buffalo, New York right now, and I think I'll be clinging to the palm trees when I leave. I mentioned my folks, and when I got my job at Fredonia, at SUNY Fredonia, I think they were just so thrilled that I wouldn't be, shaking a can on the corner asking for change when I told them I wanted to be a poet. They were just ecstatic. I think they both cried. And so as a tree, and they'd never been to New York City, I thought I'd take them on a trip to New York City. And they didn't want to see the Statue of Liberty, anything like that. What they wanted to have was a soup that they had read about. It's actually illegal to serve it in the United States, but they found it in a shady little place in New York City, of course. In Chinatown, and the reason why it's illegal is that if it's not prepared correctly, you can die. So here I'm trying to do this thing for my parents, and I had to watch them sign away their lives on a waiver while we were eating at this restaurant. The Japanese have a proverb about this soup, and it goes, "Those who eat fugu soup are stupid, but those who don't eat fugu soup are even more stupid." This is the fugu soup blues. Nothing good can come out of eating something named porcupine fish. It's like playing Russian roulette when you cook it. The pulse of toxin in its sweet little body can kill 30 men. But this is the most delicious of all fishes. The sweet meat, almost sugared, and the salty broth mix. Man, it's worth almost any death. Can you taste the pure poison hidden in the skin folds? Can you forget what you eat may kill you, even as you wipe your mouth with the back of your hand? Consider the way the porcupine fish dies. It is the only fish that can close its eyes. When a cleaver comes near its head, it even winces. Sushi chefs complain of the noise it makes on the chopping block, like crying, even though fishermen try to stitch its small mouth shut. And all that blinking, don't we expect fish eyes to be dead black and dumb? You cannot stop this hunger. When something this good can kill you, every pinprick of white pain just adds more flavor. When the waiter with the curvy smile asks if you want seconds, please, please, I beg of you, set down your spoon. Both of my parents are in the medical professions, and so we didn't really have a whole lot of books or literature we had books, but no literature, I would say, growing up. So it's I actually thank them for that in some ways, because I think that was kind of one of the building blocks of what helped me be a poet. I hung on to their every word when they told me. I was reading books on, I don't know, different phobias or pictures of different pills. My mom was a psychiatrist. Just catalogs, pill catalogs. That was what I read. But when she would tuck me in, she'd tell me these amazing stories. So I always say that my medical professional parents are the first poets I ever heard. This is a flower that grows in the Philippines, where my mom was born. And it's what those of you who are musical theater buffs, what Little Shop of Horrors was based on. The flower that it's based on is the corpse flower. This is called corpse flower. When the farmer saw the giant flower with a smell like bad fish and bad sugar, he could not look away. The purple skirt of the bloom begged him to return. And so he did, with a pail of water, and he sang to it and caressed it and swiped beetles away from the blossom's lip. He even gave it a name, and when the farmer said the name out loud, the flower began to move and then completely devoured him. Villagers searched and searched for the farmer. When they too stumbled upon the large blossom, they decided to name it after a beautiful jaguar that once killed several children. But this flower does not want to be named, does not want to be owned. When the flower heard this new name, it stretched to the closest person and ate this new name as well. I think when I've read this poem to high school students, and they don't believe me when I say that there used to be a drama, there used to be a non-cartoon television show featuring the Incredible Hulk. They think I'm just making this stuff up, and they're like, no, you mean the cartoon? And I'm like, no, there was a drama. It was after Dallas, and there was no cartoons involved. And when all of my friends were crushing on Kirk Cameron and Ricky Schroeder, and I'm dating myself here, all those 80s, teen idols, my first crush was Bill Bixby. So you guys know what I'm talking about, right? It's like the saddest TV soundtrack of all time. If you don't know what I'm talking about, find it on YouTube, I guess. This is called What I Learned from the Incredible Hulk. When it comes to clothes, make an allowance for the unexpected. Be sure the spare in the trunk of your station wagon with wood paneling is not in need of repair. A simple jean jacket says, hey, if you aren't trying to smuggle rare Incan coins through this peaceful little town and kidnap the local orphan, I can be one heck of a mellow kind of guy. But no matter how angry a man gets, a smile and a soft stroke on his bicep can work wonders. I learned that male chests also have nipples, warm and established, and I learned that green does not always mean envy. It's the meadows full of clover and chicory that the Hulk seeks for rest, a return to normal. And sometimes a woman gets to go with him, her tiny hands correcting his rumpled hair, the cuts in his hand. Green is the space between water and sun. It's the cover for a quiet man, each of his ribs shuttling drops of liquid light. This one is called Small Murders. When Cleopatra received Antony on her cedarwood ship, she made sure he would smell her in advance across the sea. Perfumed sails, net saggings with rose hips and crocus draped over her bed, her feet and hands rubbed in almond oil, cinnamon, and henna. I knew I had you when you told me you could not live without my scent. Bought pink bottles of it, creamy lotions, a tiny vial of parfum. One drop could last all day. They say Napoleon told Josephine not to bathe for 2 weeks so he could savor her raw scent. But hardly any mention is ever made of their love of violets. Her signature fragrance, a special blend of these crushed purple blooms for wrist, cleavage, and earlobe. Some expected to discover a valuable painting inside the locket around Napoleon's neck when he died, but there was a powder of violet petals from his wife's grave instead. And just yesterday, a new boy leaned in close to whisper that he loved the smell of my perfume, the one you handpicked years ago. I could tell he wanted to kiss me, his breath heavy and slow against my neck. I said nothing. My face lit blue from the movie screen, and I sat up and stared straight ahead. But by evening's end, I let him have it. 27 kisses on my neck, 27 small murders of you. And the count is correct, I know. Each sweet press, one less number to weigh heavy in the next boy's cupped hands. Your mark on me washed away with each kiss. The last one was so cold, so filled with mist and tiny daggers, I already smelled blood on my hands. A good friend of mine, poet Ross Gay, dared me to write this poem when he found out that I was involved in high school football. He was involved in high school football. He was a star running back, and he just thought it was hilarious when he found out I was my high school's mascot, or football mascot. He didn't find that I was a mascot hilarious, but he found the actual mascot itself hilarious. My high school was Beaver Creek High School. So I was the first. There was tryouts and everything. I actually had to break through, and there was a whole petition involved because they only let off-season basketball players do it usually. But I was the first female Beaver of Beaver Creek High School. I know all the jokes. Ross told them all to me. So anyway, this is the mascot of Beaver Creek High breaks her silence. There are some suits more difficult to remove. Spades, armor, tweed in the summer. Those nights you thought I was home, dateless, studying for chemistry, memorizing the dates of epic battles. I was working myself into a lather of sweat for a field of angry young men. Sometimes they were so close I could feel their hot breath in the space between my head and furry neck. Even the captain of the cheerleaders never went that far. Every hand that once reached for me still haunts me at the most unexpected times, as I place vegetables on the grocery belt or walking the glow wall walkway at the Detroit airport. Something still pulls me to the ground, and it's not the scent of cola and popcorn, the tinge of engine grease, or a truck revving at homecoming. If you slice a jacaranda bloom between two glass slides and place it on a microscope, the corolla will always fight for the light. If you once posed for any pictures with me and still have them scattered somewhere in your attic, look carefully at the dark netting of my mouth. If you squint hard, you could see my actual teeth clenched into a small scream. It was high school after all. I was like that every night. I was always cheering for something, and I still am. Something is always worth cheering for. There is always some cheer worth something. Cheer for some worth, always. This is a brand new one. It's not in any book. A brand new one based on, when I first started writing, a colleague of mine from grad school said, I can't really buy that these poems are about India, my father's homeland, because there's nothing dirty or yucky or gross or smelly in them. And when I think of India, this is a direct quote, I think of filthiness, dirt, poverty, so I don't buy it. And oh my gosh, that just slayed me, of course. Of course India has that, of course. So does America. So does any other place, in this globe, actually. So I think for the longest time I was doing everything I could to just promote the beauty of India and the Philippines. And it wasn't until just recently that I wanted to kind of turn my eye to something else. It's something that I avoided for the longest time until I became a mother. And this is a poem called Two Moths. Some girls on the other side of this planet will never know the loveliness of walking in a silk sari. Instead, they will spend their days on their backs for a parade of men who could be their uncles in another life. These girls memorize each slight wobble of fan blade as it cuts through the stale tea air and auto rickshaw exhaust, thick as egg curry. Men shove greasy rupees at the door for 1 hour in a room with a 12-year-old. 1 hour. 1 hour. 1 hour. And if she cries afterward, her older sister will cover it up, will rim the waterline of her eyes with kohl pencil until it looks like 2 silk moths have stopped to rest for a brief moment on her still exquisite face. This one is for all the parents in the audience. I know, and my friend Traci is here, hopefully somewhere. She's the one carrying around the newborn. There, yay! And who is always welcome. Babies are always welcome here at my readings. When I first had a child, my oldest is 6 right now. He didn't go by, like, oh, should be talking at XYZ age or walking at this age. He was always a little bit delayed, so I was always freaking out. I'm the honor student, so my children should just automatically be doing, reading the dictionary, that kind of thing. And I just wish I could go back to that, new mother and just shake some sense and say, it's okay, there's no formula for when, kids are supposed to hit these milestones, that kind of thing. But it was always other mothers. It was never fathers or guys who did this. Other mothers who are like, well, my son was rollerblading at age 2 or something, like my kid was speaking in full, complete sentences in Spanish at age 5 or something, And meanwhile, my son was quiet. So it just, I was so stressed about this. Anyway, he's 6 and he's talking like crazy, and I sometimes miss those quiet days. And anyway, this is for parents in the audience. This is called Waiting for Him to Speak. Sometimes she squints, like the queen whose crown was too heavy for her head. Sometimes she sighs, and the sigh is a pin of wind through his hair, and his hair is the tobacco hue of an owl feather. She repeats colors, her name, his name, points out cats and birds in his chunky books, and he studies them close, but is silent. Because of these books, she imagines daily what it would be like if she were a mama owl and he were her owlette. Or if she were a cat and he were her quiet kitty. These are her thoughts now, not about what color of high heels she'll wear to the party next week, or the key code of a house once given to her by a married man. Now, she reads her son books about elephants on a bike, hippos wearing pajamas, and about more owls who seem to have gotten themselves lost. There are only about 500 whooping cranes left on this planet, 300 California condors, and just over 6,000 or so beach mice. During the months that she waits for him to talk, there will be even less of these animals. She feels guilty for waiting, for wanting it so badly. And by the time you get to the end of this poem, there will be no more pygmy rabbits left on this earth. The last one will die as she waits for her son to speak. The nights are loose, long braids that unravel at the ends. But he will have his books, she thinks. He will always have his books. And just 2 more here. I looked this up just this morning to make sure I got the right number. Back when I was a newlywed, I was so excited. I had never lived with anyone before. My husband had never lived with anybody before. And we were going to start our new life together in a house. And I kid you not, within 1 week of my husband moving in, the house next door was sold. You can't even make this up. Or not sold. Okay, let me back up. The house next door was raided. The police had mounted a hidden camera on our roof. It turns out there was an angry little couple next door who was so sweet in person. They would give us tomatoes, that kind of thing. They were totally cooking meth in their basement. And these people were like 80-something years old. And I thought, wow, they have a lot of visitors. They have a lot of tomatoes to give away. Yeah, so that happened on one side. On the other side, the house on the other side was sold to the Chautauqua County Arachnid Society, which, as you can imagine, is, of course, doesn't every county have one of these? It's a club for people to chat and hang out and talk about their spiders. And many of these were illegal spiders as well. So you would have people outside of our house walking their tarantulas on a leash. And so we had meth on one side, spiders on the other side. And yeah, that was quite the welcoming for our first summer together. While this was going on in New York City, a man had to call 911 because he finally gave up, couldn't contain it anymore. He had 1,000, this is the number I looked up, 1,014 rats in his studio apartment and needed help. So it just made me wonder, what was it about the 1,014th rat that finally said, I can't handle it anymore. I need to get some help here. So I blended this all into a poem. This is the first poem I wrote as a married woman. This is called Baked Goods. Flour on the floor makes my sandals slip, and I tumble into your arms. It's too hot to bake this morning, but blueberries begged me to fold them into moist muffins. Sticks of rhubarb plotted a whole pie. The windows are blown open, and a thick fruit tang sneaks through the wire screen and into the home of the scowly couple that lives next door. Yesterday, a man in the city was rescued from his apartment filled with over 1,000 rats. Something about being angry because his pet python refused to eat. He just let the bloom of fur rise over the gnarly blue rug, rise over the coffee table, rise over the kitchen countertops, and pip through each cabinet, snip at the stumpy paper bags of sugar and the cylinders of salt. Our kitchen is a riot of pots, wooden spoons, and melted butter. So be it. Maybe all this baking will quiet the angry voices next door, if only for a brief whiff. I want our summers to always be like this. A kitchen wrecked with love, a table overflowing with baked goods, warming the already warm air. And after all the pots are stacked, all the goodies cooled, and all the counters wiped clean, let us never, ever be rescued from this mess. And the last one I'll leave you with is a found poem. And I didn't do anything here except break up the lines. This is one day when I was teaching, just before a class, I checked my email, got my inbox under control, it was all good. Came back from my class, over 200-something emails, all with different subject headings. I still, to this day, don't actually know what happened. The only thing I can guess, just based on the emails, was that a high school teacher, I think, it had to be high school, gave out my work email address. And in order to write me at work, you have to spell my last name correctly, which is fine. I get that people mess it up. But one student in particular spelled by name Dear Aimee Nezhukumatathil with 6 O's in it. And I have no O's in my name at all. So I just love that. I don't even care. I'm just going to try anything. So yeah, I still don't know exactly what happened, except for the fact that I think this teacher said, contact the author, tell her what you think about her books. So this is Dear Aimee Nezhukumatathil. If I were to ask you a question about your book and sum it up into one word, it would be, why? I think I like Walt Whitman better than you. I don't get literature, but for a fast 30-minute read, your book takes the cake. I like how you organized the lines in that one poem to represent a tree. And I wondered, are you going to get a rude reaction when you meet that one guy in that one poem? I guess you never know. You are young. You are so young. You are so very young. You are incredibly young to be a poet. But I like how your poems take up a whole page. It makes our reading assignments go by faster. You are young. You are young and you are pure and you seem like you just really want to have a good time. Thank you. We have taken a debate and you are a far better poet than Walt Whitman. I loved how your poems were easy to read and understand. Hi, my name is Alicia. We read your book and I just loved it. We also read Leaves of Grass. There was no competition. I liked Leaves of Grass a lot better. But yours was okay too. Sometimes poetry is not my favorite type of literature, and sometimes I'm offered drinks and guys try to talk to me and I just brush it off and keep on dancing. And every once in a while, the creepy mean guys try to offer me things and then they say something. I was wondering, what would you do? Lastly, I was wondering if you ever wrote a poem that didn't have a deeper meaning, but someone always tried to give it one anyways? Sorry. I'm so sorry. Sorry. You are very young. Sorry. Walt Whitman is better than you. Thank you.